Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
He picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. My name is Price Carter. This is the Intangibles, and that is Christian Ainsworth. Happy Victory Monday for the first time in Chiefs Kingdom. Christian, how's it feel to get a dub on the board?
Dude, not just one. Mizzou football got it done on Saturday too, man. This is like all-time great football, Missouri, type of time, dude.
I do think we owe the pod some time to recap what was an electric Saturday for us and a podcast. So real quick, we'll, stick with us. We're going to get into the Chiefs victory. Christian and I, we commit ourselves, hell or high water. We're looking at the tape Sunday night into Monday morning before we get on the podcast here. So I'm glad to say that I have reviewed every offensive snap and majority of the defensive snaps. The fourth quarter, when I started getting Russell Wilson throwing the ball out of the back of the end zone on first, second, third, and fourth down, I didn't commit to all that, but I have committed to all that. So we will review it and kind of give our biggest takeaways, the things that really matter. Having a day to sober up and kind of look at it, I think it's really good. And I really loved doing this last week too, because I thought it was a great way for me and you to not really talk about the game and see if we come away with the same conclusions.
Yeah, I would agree. It's also nice. I mean, you do stuff for FTN. I do stuff for FTN as well, but for the Minnesota Vikings. And so it's cool to kind of get this, like, you have the professional look at it, right? And then usually, Sunday night into Monday morning, I'm doing stuff for FTN and the Minnesota Vikings. So, I get to watch the broadcast view. That's really how I do a lot of my report stuff, and then maybe once or twice through on the All-22. But it's cool to see, your perspective and how it might contrast from mine with, our differing viewpoints.
Yeah, the broadcast view stinks, man. I hate using the broadcast view. Yeah, I'll look at it a little bit, but as soon as the All-22 comes out, that's where you got to go. Especially the goal line cam, like that's really where you can really take away some things. But Saturday, let's talk about it. Okay, so Christian, I would like to thank you for helping me really, really go back. Someone called me an old head on Twitter this week when we were on day 6 of complaining about Brett Veach. When I say we, I mean they. They call me an old head, which I mean, I don't know, 32. My interpretation of an old head is not 32 years old, but that's okay. I accept it. I embrace it. Wiseness, I am. But you took me back this weekend. For those of you that don't know, I went up to Columbia, or across to Columbia. I don't know if it's up, but I went over to Columbia for the Mizzou South Carolina game. And then also we were going to watch the Nebraska game together, Christian and I. So I get there, and first off, I don't know which bone to pick with you first. Okay. So first off, you're like, okay, let's go to this place. They've got really good wings. So we go to this place with the wings. The girl, she acts like she has no idea how to. Why do these places have 12 TVs and they act like they've got no concept of how to adjust them? So I get the Nebraska game on the TV finally, and we get the wings. Okay, I swear to you, these wings were like, Chick-fil-A nuggets and how they're like this big. They're like Chick-fil-A nuggets covered in sauce, my man. I got 9 wings and I was still hungry.
But okay, first of all, you coming in there asking about, the size of the wings. And did I get my full 9? Are these all 9? This better not count as one of them. That is the most big back thing I've ever heard come out of your mouth, dude. Like, yeah, the wings are this much smaller than the other ones you get at Buffalo Wild Wings. Like,
I've lost over 50 pounds. This was a cheat day for me. I want to maximize my potential. All right. If I'm going to cheat, I want to really cheat. You know what I'm saying? Like if you get the hall pass, like don't go picking up a 5 or a 6, go for Sydney Sweeney. Right. Like I wanted it all. All right. Then we get this is where the magic really starts happening. So we go back to this man's apartment to watch the rest of the Nebraska game because it only took me 30 seconds to eat those wings. And then so we not even halftime. We get back for the Nebraska game, and I walk into this college ass apartment. You got the trash pile, not the trash can, the trash pile in the corner. There's like a dining room table in the middle of it. There's like no TV. It's like literally the picture you see of the folding lawn chair with the TV on the floor. That's the setup in there. I start looking for a cup to start making drinks. I'm opening the cabinets. I think one cabinet had olive oil in it. Like that was it. Just olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
a few spices as well. Yeah, salt and pepper.
No, not even a salt and pepper shaker. the pre-bought salt and pepper, like where it's already in a can that you can dispense from. The top of the fridge has got every form of alcohol though. Like every type of alcohol is on the top of the fridge. So we get in there and we finally get the Nebraska game on, and I am just yelling for Nebraska to fit a run gap just once. Okay, just fit a run gap, right? And we're there, we're drinking, we're pre-gaming, we're watching the Nebraska game. It is electric. I go crazy when Dylan Raiola hits that Hail Mary touchdown pass. And this is where the real college experience starts kicking in. So we're in here being rough and rowdy, pre-gaming, and all of a sudden a female I had no idea was in the apartment emerges from one of the rooms in the apartment, and then you go, "You must be so-and-so's girlfriend. Nice to meet you." To which I realized that you had never met this female before too, and that she was sitting there listening to me like, time out, come on, rule call, time out. So that was also great. Just total college experience there.
Dude, well, I'm glad I could provide this unique, I guess really not unique, but I'm happy I could take turn back the hands of time for you, because you came into that apartment and you're like immediately like, oh, there's no rug here. Let's see, there's the chairs are spread out everywhere. It's like, dude, this is parents' weekend, but I did not expect for you to come over and be the mom of the group.
All I have to say is now I know when you came over to my house a couple weeks ago and you're like, wow, this is suburbia 101. I was like, yeah, this is how the other half lives, bud. But it was great. We did get to the game. It was great. This picture of us here with my brother-in-law, where I was at that particular moment, I'm not sure. I was not there at the game. But I was in another planet, another universe, but it's okay. That's what I like. I like being like totally blazed right when we go into the game, and then, just sober up. I think, what did we put away? Like 3 or 4 cups of the little Andy's ice cream.
Oh yeah, dude. And
yeah, I was just looking.
I think I had like 4 or 5 chicken strips. You had 2 hamburgers. It was like crazy.
Yeah. We're just looking for every single carb imaginable. But it was a great time. Mizzou, man, like to get to the game. What a great game. Mizzou, like I forgot that Shane Beamer made some smart ass remark about Mizzou's facilities last time, because I remember South Carolina won against Missouri last year, and that was kind of the Lenora Sellers coming out party last year. And Mizzou defense was stifling. Ahmed Hardy is the best running back in college football right now. It's not Jeremiah Love. He looked great. I think the receivers, they've got, while Burden was incredible, I think they've got a wide receiver room that has really complementary skill sets this year. So it was great. I tried my first Zen. I was a college kid for one day, and I thank you for giving me that experience. The next morning, my kids were waking me up at 6:30. It was back to reality. But for one day and one day only, I was 22 again.
Well, I'm happy, dude. I'm really glad I could do that for you. But I think we need to talk about your drink of choice before we completely get into the game situation. This man brings a cooler full of sparkling water, which apparently he drinks recreationally. Like, you're not forcing nobody's got you at gunpoint drinking this stuff, which is in and of itself kind of an odd choice. And then Mio and vodka. What are we doing here, boy? Like, that might be like one of my ex-girlfriend's favorite drinks. That's not a drink a man enjoys before a football game.
I don't like to drink my calories. Okay. Amongst
it was a
other
cheat
things,
day. You said it yourself. It was a cheat day. Just go rogue. Drink a Michelob Ultra, dude. It's not gonna kill you.
This drink is magic. Okay. First off, you're hydrating while you drink it because you're drinking water, 0 calories, and it's vodka. So it's like no bullshit. Just straight to the source. It works wonders for me. You asked me before the show, you're like, how bad were you hurting Sunday? And I was like, I wasn't. I was up at 6:30 making mini muffins for my kids, whipping up some chocolate milk, putting some ponytails in the baby girl's hair, like built diff. All right. I know, like, you know, you ever see like that old guy who like shows up to a party or something and he knows exactly, he brings exactly what he needs. You offered me free. You got to try the Arrowhead Lager from our friends at Casey Beer Company. I brought you one of those. One of those things will put me in a bad place. The beer just messes with my stomach. I will drink beer, but if I'm getting to business, we're going straight to the source. Water, Mio, vodka. It's like I'm like a plant. Okay, they need oxygen, sunlight, and air. I need water, Mio, and vodka. That's it. Okay, and I grow. I'm a little lilac just growing and sprouting my petals. All right. Let's talk Chiefs here before everyone actually logs us off. We're going to get the classic football talk starts at 8:07 comment in the YouTube chat, which I welcome. Okay, because I mean, really, this podcast isn't for our listeners; it's for us. It's not really about them. Your Kansas City Chiefs leave the New York Giants Stadium for the first time in franchise history, which is just absolutely wild to say, with a 22-9 victory over the New York Giants. I had the unique experience this week of hosting the pregame, halftime, and postgame, and it really was all stages of grieving / copium. Like pregame, like, oh, you know, mild optimism. What can the Chiefs do here? Halftime, I felt like I was channeling my inner Matt Verderam. Like I was beside myself. There were so many things to be frustrated with. You come back post game and things feel a little bit better after that second half. So just, you know, talk about, Christian, like what were kind of your overall feelings coming after the game?
Well, I think you kind of explained it really well there. The 3 stages of grief that we go through, I think, weekly now as Chiefs fans, where it's like we're on top of the world. We're about to kick the Giants' ass. Everything's falling apart. I need to die right now. And then, oh my God, we won. We made it. Great job. Like, I know that it hasn't been the exact sort of recipe the past couple of weeks, but for this game, it certainly was. And it was really, man, I don't know if you could come away with this game or come away with something from this game other than like the Chiefs may be back. We might be back. Not all the way, not 100%, but there's definitely some optimism in the building now.
I don't know, man. I can't be there. The only thing that like I actually have true optimism about right now is the defense. Like this is the second good defensive performance that they've strung together. Especially when you go and watch, like I was sitting there like, wow, the Eagles, like they're in a bad place. They lose Lane Johnson. The offense has just looked really rough. And you're starting to kind of like put together your priors of like, okay, this is the second time the Eagles are trying to do an in-house coordinator. The last time their offense totally collapsed, they went in-house. And then they go get Kellen Moore and it looks much better. Like that offense looked stifled for about 3 quarters and they come to life against a really good Rams defense. You start feeling better about what the Chiefs put out there defensively against the Eagles. And then, I mean, you know, it was basically a no-show for the Giants this week. I do feel much better about the defense, and it's not just the results, it's how it looks and how it's happening. I think the secondary looks much quicker, much more explosive. Sterling put out a tweet about this, that Brian Cook is one of PFF's top graded safeties. And I think that tracks. He's triggering much better. I think he looks much more healthy than he has in the past. Good for him. Therese Paylor said it best, contract year undefeated. Noel Williams is going, his snaps are increasing. And like I've said this, made this comp before, but Noel Williams to me is looking like young Charvarius Ward. I'm not saying he's going to be a future All-Pro, but he's in the spots, making the plays. He's delivering hits when he gets there. The technique isn't always there, right? We saw that jam at the line of scrimmage where he's using his hands on the face instead of on the chest there. But for the most part, you see the skill set. And then also keeping in mind, like Christian Fulton, he's always going to be hurt, but he's not playing right now. So there's still more room for this. Trent McDuffie played his season high snaps in the slot. And even, I'll say his name, not Voldemort, but might as well be, Shamari Connor has strung together 2 pretty good games too. He gave up 6 receptions for 81 yards and 118 passer rating the first week against the Chargers. Since then, he's allowed 7 receptions for 60 yards. I think all those things came together. And this was always going to be a good defensive game plan for a guy like Nick Bolton, where they don't really have a tight end that can really beat you. And then like Scatterboo, while he is, underrated and a guy I really wanted the Chiefs to draft, he's not super dynamic, right? Nick Bolton, at least his athleticism plays with a guy like Cam Scatterboo. So I thought defensively, this is about as good of a performance you could have asked for. And I think if we're talking about my first takeaway from this game is that the defense does appear to be at least a top half defense. I don't think that it's going to be that 2023 defense, but I think this is certainly a defense that you can win because of, not in spite of.
Oh, 100%. And you talked about him a little bit, and I'll get into him a little bit more a little bit later. But Noel Williams, man, like, he's making some dumb rookie mistakes. But when you watch him play, you're like, okay, that's the physical outside guy, like a Charvarius Ward type of DB that's like going to be very handsy, going to be very physical throughout the route that the wide receiver is running, but he's going to give you quality reps. And that's what's really, really inspiring about this game is it's like you've seen him over the past 3 games just exponentially get more snaps. And you know what that means for Trent McDuffie. He's going back into the slot. And so I think as we see him progress, the defense will progress as well. But I might be a little bit more optimistic on the offense than you were. When you go back through and you look at that offense, yeah, we weren't able to finish. There were a lot of field goals that we kicked instead of touchdowns. It's like, but you look at that first half and it wasn't pretty by any means, but you know, we get into field goal position 3 times, and Harrison Butker misses one. I mean, we'll probably talk about him a little bit later too, but it was one of those things where, hey, listen, you know, we're not at 100% by any means. We still got pieces missing. Everybody, I mean, it seems like everything that could go wrong with the Chiefs offense is going wrong with it. And we still ended up scoring 22 points. Now, this wasn't like a vaunted Giants defense that we were going up against, but I still think it's worth mentioning. I mean, the New York Giants scored what was it, like 43 points last week? And they gave up a significant amount of points as well. But holding them to 9 and scoring 22, I still think is worth something.
Boy, let me tell you, the Cowboys might be one of the worst defenses in the NFL this year. I'm watching the other game that I'm working on for FTM besides the Chiefs game is the Bears game against them, and they're making Caleb Williams look like the man he was promised to be. And I do think, hey, like very side note, Roma Odunze, Luther Burden has over 100 yards. It's shocking, but we may actually give it some time before we come to a final verdict on Caleb Williams. Maybe his career isn't over 2 games into the season, but that's a story for another day. Here's what I'll say about the offense. I think the most significant thing here, the thing that matters, is the Chiefs have somehow magically pulled a very valuable starting wide receiver out of this, and it's not Hollywood Brown. It's Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan Thornton is winning down the field at one of the highest rates in the NFL. He tracks the ball well. He separates. It passes the eye test. Even the misses, the time where him and Pat can't sync up, he's open. You see that he's behind the defender. He added some muscle this year, and it's clearly helped him. And this is something that is incredibly valuable. Like, you want to talk about roster construction here. Tyquan Thornton is basically like a practice squad level player as far as his cost to this team. And he, right now, is just almost on pace for 1,000 yards this season. I don't think he'll finish there once the snaps come up. But what my biggest offensive takeaway is when Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy come back, Hollywood Brown needs to lose snaps, not Tyquan Thornton. That's who I want to see continue to get the snaps, because this is the vision that they've had all along. You've got Xavier Worthy, who I think is going to be kind of their gadget guy, their joker, for lack of a better term. I still worry about the injury with him. You've got Tyquan Thornton, who's taken the top off the defense, and then you have the middle of the field opened up for Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. And I think that's the vision. And, you know, if you want to go use Brown, I think Brown's like particularly good in the like short game. Like, I think, you know, his ability to run like quick outs and hooks and mesh and stuff like that is useful. Like, he's like a third down guy for me. But at this point, I would rather see Thornton outsnap Hollywood Brown, because I just see way more explosiveness there.
Yeah, and you'll never say this because you're a very humble guy, but I think it's worth mentioning. This is something that this podcast has been talking about for a while, since training camp. Obviously, we kind of, you know, hedged our bets a little bit and said, well, you know, this is training camp. We'll see. It's like, but there were multiple times where we were both out there watching Tyquan Thornton tear people apart on the practice field, and not Christian Roland Wallace, like Trent McDuffie, just kill him one-on-one. And I mean, obviously, it's very tough for that to translate on Sundays, but it has for Tyquan Thornton, and that is incredible for them to find somebody. And I saw this on Twitter earlier. I think it was Matt Verderam that posted it. Tyquan Thornton now has more touchdowns for the Kansas City Chiefs than Sky Moore did in his entire career, which, I mean, it's not saying a lot, but it is saying something.
Yeah, and here's the thing too about him is that what he's giving them is something that's really coveted, right? That vertical stretch. It's something that is not easy to find in the NFL. And more than anything, Mahomes trusts them because as many shots that they've connected on, he's taken double the more down the field, which by the way, let's just pause real quick. Patrick Mahomes is playing well. And for some reason, there's still been some analysis around him that he's not playing well. I don't come away from any of these games thinking that he's the problem. He's not the problem. Is he perfect? No. The problem with this is that right now where the Chiefs offense is with whether it be scheme or talent, Patrick Mahomes basically has to be perfect for it to go where it wants to go. So you feel a missed corner out to Noah Graymore. You feel that 3rd and 1 play where they had basically they leaked Thornton out there and he just missed him. If he hits him in stride, it's a touchdown. Those feel like a gut punch because you basically need him to be perfect right now. Am I going to say that he's playing like the best quarterback in the NFL? No, I'm not sure who that is right now. But what I will say is that Patrick Mahomes is playing like Patrick Mahomes. He's playing like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And you've seen him do it with his legs. I was kind of frankly glad to see that we just didn't go back to the well of him just scrambling like a madman in this game because I don't think that that's what's healthy. And the no good, terrible, awful, burn it down to the ground, need new voices Chiefs offense is currently setting 7th in the NFL in EPA per play.
Yeah.
So, and that's without their top 2 wide receivers. I'm sitting here listening to Tom Brady talk on the Bears game about how losing CeeDee Lamb in that game is just such a backbreaker for that offense. And you can't, you just can't really expect that much. It's like, well, the Chiefs lost their CeeDee Lamb and their George Pickens or their Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, right? So it's huge, but Thornton stepping into that role, I mean, what a huge win and credit to the Chiefs. That's why you do those type of things. That's why whenever people joke about who would trade anything for Sky Moore? It's like, well, these guys do have draft pedigree and sometimes situation and circumstance matters. Some of this is a human thing too, right? Like Tyquan Thornton probably realized at some point, hey, I'm close to being out of the league here. I've got to do better. So credit to the player as well.
Well, yeah, and the coaches for putting him in those positions to be able to succeed. I think that's something that the Patriots didn't necessarily do. And I don't think that we do with all of our players, frequently or as frequently as we should. But you said something there that was really, really interesting, just discussing the Mahomes discourse. And I was in a situation, I was watching the Sunday game with my father. And my father loves football. We used to watch it growing up. It's like one of the things that we bonded over. But there were multiple times throughout the game where, somebody who has studied the game for as long as I have and has watched and is really paying attention to everything, not to, I'll try to stay as humble as I can here, but somebody who knows the game fairly well, I would say more than the average person, watches it and sees Mahomes make a throw behind the line of scrimmage to Isaiah Pacheco. And then, my father screams out, "Hey, that's a bad ball. Mahomes has got to get that figured out." And you go, "Hey, Isaiah Pacheco's head was turned the wrong direction. He was trying to score a touchdown on the other touchdown, or on the other end zone."
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
That was quite possibly one of the worst football plays I've seen.
Yes.
Just from a single player beginning to end. Oh my God. And then the lack of hustle once the ball's on the ground and the not having the wherewithal. And Mahomes goes and just rips the ball back from the linebacker. That's one of those things never shows up in the stat sheet. All-time great play.
Yeah, goat shit.
That's what it is. Yeah, and I mean, the football intelligence, it's a real thing to know that that's a live ball, or at least treat it like it's a live ball until it's blown dead, right? So that was huge for them to do. Isaiah Pacheco, I mean, what can you say positive? 4.5 yards to carry in this game. He was at least playable tonight as far as on the run, but the shenanigans in the pass game and him turning his shoulder to the opposite end, where was he going? Dude, he's Rutgers kid. He's from Jersey. Maybe he thought he was going home. He's just going night. I don't know. What the hell was that though? I have no clue.
No, dude, and that gets put on Mahomes. That's my point here, is that sometimes, to the average fan gets put on Mahomes. And I think that there are a lot of plays that are like that maybe not everybody necessarily sees, and they point to Patrick Mahomes and go, it's his fault. We need to change up, or it's Matt Nagy's fault, or it's Andy Reid's fault. And it's like, dude, if you can't line up correctly at the right tackle spot, if you can't turn your head the right direction when you're about to catch a football out of the backfield, like, I tell you what, there's not a whole lot of coaches that can change that. There's not a whole lot that Patrick Mahomes can do to change that up for your team. Like, you just got to get more reliable guys, which is what we've been preaching for weeks now.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to say Mahomes needs to eat those sacks, that's fine. I think he was just trying to make something out of nothing. It was very clear in the first half, and I do think, I think Bobby Stroop on Twitter, who is Patrick Mahomes' trainer, gives us the most real look into what Patrick Mahomes' actual thoughts are. And he said something on Twitter in the second half is like, the play calling's changing. They're running more empty. They're getting the ball out. And I do think that there was a change. And God forbid that happened. That needed to happen, right?
Yeah, I know.
They looked scared of the pass rush in the first half. And then the second half, it looks like they started actually trying to be a bit more aggressive. They were rolling the pocket more, that type of stuff. I think Mahomes is just trying to make something happen here with those plays. But yeah, those were pretty reckless. Some significant NFL news breaking right now. Ian Rappaport is tweeting that Nick Bosa tore his ACL, will be out for the rest of the season.
It's a shame, dude.
Big loss for the 3-0 49ers. That's like losing Chris Jones to them, right? Like their entire pass rush is a bunch of young guys that they were building around Nick Bosa being a stud. So pretty significant here. We got Joshua Clayton here in the chat talking about Kyle Pitts from Atlanta. I would say Kyle Pitts, I think it could be a trade candidate. I don't necessarily think that the Chiefs are going to do it because they already have 3 tight ends that aren't really good blockers. So why bring in a 4th? That's also not a very good blocker. I wonder if that would be an off-season thing. I don't know if they've picked up his 5th-year option or not. But he's basically towards the end of his rookie deal. And I think there are some questions if the Falcons want to extend him. And the Falcons, I mean, they got crushed by the Panthers this week. That was not a result I saw coming, especially at how much better that defense looked against JJ McCarthy. So if you're a Vikings fan and you're like, wait, so they just stifled us and then Bryce Young just went berserk on that defense like 6 days later, how bad is JJ McCarthy? Real questions to be asked there. But yeah, Joshua, I saw you say too that, he thinks that we need to get another back in here. I certainly think that running back is a place that the Chiefs will be active, and we see running backs get moved at the deadline every year. I know a lot of people have connected the dots to Alvin Kamara. That would be a terrific fit. There'd be some salary cap implications there, but certainly running back is a need on this team. And, we saw the Chiefs at least be a little bit more purposeful about running the ball in this game. I was pretty concerned there at halftime that they were going to abandon it again. They did end up running the ball 28 times in this game for 105 yards. It's including Mahomes rushes. That it was effective. That's what they need. Is they don't need it to be, the Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery run game. They just need it to at least be a viable option.
Oh yeah. And the fact that they're facing, when they run the ball, 70% of their runs are against light boxes. You need somebody who can take advantage of that. And, this offense is never going to be one running back who runs it 25 or 30 times a game. That's just not Andy Reid's style. I don't think that's what the NFL is right now. So being in that situation is not one that the Chiefs are going to be in, no matter who the running back is. But you need somebody like Brashard Smith, who on his limited touches, is averaging 6.5 yards a carry or 10 yards a carry the other day. Or, some of these spots where, hey, listen, you're going to get 10 carries. We need more than 22 yards, which is literally what Isaiah Pacheco's stat line was, not this past week, but the week before against the Eagles. So finding somebody like that, I think, is top priority for Brett Veach and Andy Reid right now. Somebody who can come in, fit into the scheme. You mentioned him. Kamara is a really good option. Only be $3 million against the cap. That would be a move they could make today, and he would fit right in. Devon Achane.
Yeah, literally give Pacheco's reps to Kareem Hunt or to Alvin Kamara or Devon
Yes.
Achane, as you said too. Like both those guys, like Kamara's got more prowess in the passing game than Achane does. Like Achane's not a particularly good pass blocker. He's a good pass catcher, but both those guys they take over Pacheco's role. Kareem Hunt stays in the role that he's in, third down, short yardage, because that's what he's good at. And then Pacheco is like literally just a reserve. And yeah, I thought you hit on something nicely too. They're starting to use Rashard Smith more in that jet motion. Handed to him a couple of times, looked good when he got the ball in his hands. I've continued to say like his role is probably going to be closer to DeAnthony Thomas, Dexter McCluster this year than a true running back. But hey, he carried the ball twice for 13 yards, had one target that wasn't able to quite bring down on that wheel route. I do think that it will kind of keep going back to that. They'll eventually hit it, I feel like, in it, and it will be pretty explosive play. But again, we're just talking about opening this offense up vertically and horizontally. I think, you saw in this game, defensively, the Chiefs played two high safeties almost as much as they ever have before. And that's because they know that Russell Wilson can't handle the honeypot. Like he wants to throw the ball deep. And when he did, they picked him off twice. And they sat there and let them run into those light boxes. And they didn't care because they knew eventually they were going to take the bait. The Chiefs have to continue to do that as well. As far as stretching, they've got the vertical stretch now with Tyquan Thornton. Imagine what that speed's going to look like on the field when Xavier Worthy's on there. And then we've talked about the middle of the field and how important it's going to be when they get Xavier or when they get Rashee Rice back. And as Travis Kelce gets opened up more and more. Chat's talking about it here a little bit. We've got to talk about the offensive line. Obviously, I thought I have changed my tune a little bit. During the preseason, I was of the opinion that like that she should be in on signing a Dalton Reisner or someone like that because I was so concerned about Kingsley Suamataia. His passing grade from PFF isn't particularly kind. I don't think that statistically looking at this game, you're going to say this is a great game for Kingsley Suamataia. I actually was the most encouraged I've been watching him though this week. And the reason is I think you can start to see week over week progression. And I think you're starting to see him fix some of those quick losses. That didn't happen as much here. He got a healthy dose of Dexter Lawrence and he was able to handle him. And maybe that's a matchup thing. Like he's more of a power guy than a speed guy. But I was pleasantly surprised from what I saw from Suamataia, and I was pleasantly surprised with what I saw from Josh Simmons. It was not the zero pressures allowed shutout that he gave before. You saw Brian Burns get the best of him with that nasty dip and rip. But the thing I will always come back to with Simmons is like Simmons to me put on a classic Eric Fisher battling showdown, right? Like if you remember in that Super Bowl, the jet chip wasp, do we have time to run wasp? That was about, do we have the pass protection to do it? Eric Fisher, he would have games like this where he would struggle, but he was in there battling. He was getting his hands on people. Some of the Chiefs' recent poor tackle play was like not getting a hand on the defender, a pressure in under 2 seconds. That was what we saw here today. And unfortunately, here we are talking again about who was the worst player on the defensive line, bar none, Juwan Taylor. My God. The best part was like Brian Burns was getting them, Kayvon Thibodeau was getting them, and then Burns leaves for a couple snaps due to an injury. Then they put in Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter gets them. My concern is how bad is Jalen Moore? It's Jalen Moore.
He has to be awful. He has to be the worst tackle on the team. He has to be at this point.
Well, they even got him some snaps at left tackle in this game. They purposefully put him in once the game was basically in hand to get him some left tackle snaps. There's nothing wrong with Josh Simmons. But it's like, what are we doing here? Like, because Juwan Taylor, the thing was he had penalties, but when he wasn't getting penalized, he was playing well. That's not even a true statement anymore. He's not playing well when he's in there. So if you're generating negative plays for the team and you're allowing pressures and you're a terrible run blocker, literally, what is it you would say you do here?
Yeah, well, you line up off sides is really what happens. Is you create illegal formation penalties out of nowhere for no reason, and you jump. And we like to shit on Chris Collinsworth for calling it out every single game. And I will say it is a little bit annoying. But, dude, it is so apparent that, the league polices him a little bit different than anybody else, but also that he's doing it damn near as frequently when he's not getting called than when he is getting called. Like, this is not something that he has adapted to since being penalized so frequently. And that's what I think is the most frustrating part is you go, listen, dude, you made the same mistake 14 times last year, whether it was false start or lining up off sides. You made those mistakes almost once a game. That's unheard of for a tackle. And so okay, let's fix that. So you went this offseason, you practiced lining up correctly, right? And you looked over your film and you did all that. And it's like, yeah, and the issues still persist. I have no doubt in my mind that Jawan Taylor is working on these things. I mean, he's an NFL professional. You wouldn't be in the league with how low of a draft pick he was without putting in a whole bunch of work during the offseason and things like that. But it's just so frustrating. And especially just from a coaching perspective here, you go, hey, listen, you're making the same mistake. The player's making the same mistake again and again and again. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to the team to keep putting him in that position to make that mistake. And we have Jalen Moore on the roster for a reason. This would be one of the reasons. Put him in. That was one of the biggest points on Twitter that everybody was talking about. Put Jalen Moore in. Jalen Moore has to be better than Jawan Taylor. He has to be, because it can't be this bad. And I just really worry about that contract and where we're going to sit if, he becomes the Cam Irvin of this team. And anytime he goes in, we're like, oh, dear God, I didn't like Eric Fisher, but he's way better than this. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. And it's concerning, too, because you want to zoom out on a larger scale. Like, who is in charge of the accountability here? If you want to talk about the all-time vibe shift, vibes were at an all-time low at halftime, and then things feel much better. If we want to go back, because what really changed here? The Giants just continued to be a bad football team. That's really what changed here, and then some execution thing for the Chiefs. But the accountability thing, it's scary. Hey, Tyquan Thornton and Travis Kelce, it's the home opener, and you guys are about to go outside and warm up, and you're wearing T-shirts that say "Free 4." Free him from what? He's not Nelson Mandela. He's not he's being suspended from football games. He's going to get to pick the 30 days he goes and spends in jail. He endangered the lives of numerous people, and you're wearing a shirt that says "Free 4." Yeah. Hey guys, take the shirts off. Where's the accountability there? Where's the accountability with Jawan Taylor when he keeps doing this over and over and over again? You see George Karlaftis gets a dumbass roughing the passer penalty. He's out of the game the next play. At least George Karlaftis showed up. At least George Karlaftis is good at his job, which, by the way, he had a very good game.
Yes, he did.
But the accountability thing, it's concerning. It's concerning that every week we have another argument with Travis Kelce on the sidelines with Andy Reid. Travis Kelce, I love his competitive spirit, and he is a first ballot walk-in, no questions asked Hall of Famer. This team would not be the dynasty that they are without him, no doubt. But at some point, you're not good enough to be an asshole, man. And if you're going to do this stuff and then go out and have 2 catches for 16 yards, that's not acceptable. Are you a net positive or are you a net negative? All I'm saying is, if he was on the sidelines, Tom Brady style, yelling at the receivers, yelling at the offensive lineman, that's one thing. He's yelling at the head coach. Is Andy Reid focused on what's happening in the game? Is he making adjustments? Is he looking at the call sheet? Is he looking over what the defense is doing? No, he's sitting there arguing with Trav. And, I'm glad that we'll get to hear on New Heights Wednesday, Travis just say, oh, I'm just really passionate about the game and want to win at all costs. And that's just how me and Big Red are. And to his credit, there was those videos back in the 49ers Super Bowl of them yelling at each other, and that worked out okay. I worry about the accountability sometimes here, and what type of lesson does that teach to other people? What does that teach to Noel Williams, to Omar Norman Lott? That's well, there's this guy over here doing the same old shit, and he gets to play over and over again.
Well, I think that as a player of Travis Kelce's caliber, you get kind of some cachet built up. I do think that that's a real thing, especially when he is an institution in the Kansas City Chiefs franchise. But I'm going to be honest, dude. I understand where you're coming from, but I could not disagree more. Just in my personal experience with players on the side, obviously this is not at an NFL level or even a super high high school football level, but you have emotions get out of control. You have players who are not happy with the current situation, how the game's being called, and it's all for the same reason. I think that if everybody understands that their passion and, the things that they're saying are all for the same purposes, you both are trying to achieve the same goal, then I don't think it's necessarily as bad as people like to make it out to be. Now, I think there is something to be said about Eric Bieniemy not being here and this starting to crop up even more and more frequently on the sidelines. Now I will agree with you. I will agree with you. I don't think that he is the biggest problem for the Chiefs' woes right now. And I don't think that having him on the sideline would make it any better if Travis Kelce is pissed off at him yelling on the sidelines. But I think there is something to be said that as this team has gotten away from Eric Bieniemy in 2023, the offense has started to decay a little bit with the weapons not being as, not getting that much better over that period of time. But I also think that, there are some aspects to coaching and behind the scenes stuff that we are not necessarily privy to. I think he might have had an impact on.
I will not be gaslit into talking about Eric Bieniemy today. You can't do it.
Dude, what do you mean? You're talking about accountability. That was our accountability guy.
You don't want to know why Eric Bieniemy is beloved in Kansas City and he comes up in every podcast? 2 reasons. The first is
good while he was here.
Yes, that's part of the reason. The other reason why is because you can see what Eric Bieniemy was doing. It was on the sidelines. You could see him yelling at people. Rah-rah guy is cool. That looks cool. That looks like something I would do. I would yell at my kid at T-ball, tell him to swing harder, tell him to hit the ball when it comes his way, to catch the ball when it comes his way. That is action. That is not motion. You can see people doing stuff. Sometimes people are just loud. It doesn't mean that they're right. Okay. He has gone nowhere since leaving. He was, again, everywhere he's gone, they've chose to move on. And he continues to have opportunity. Like, no one's stopping him from being a head coach in the NFL or an offensive coordinator. Everywhere he's gone, he's basically been fired. And now he's a running back coach. Like, he's been demoted from what he was with the Chiefs. So the league is telling you what they think of him. They told you what they thought of him countless times when he wasn't getting head coaching jobs. And the reason why you all want him to come back here is because you just liked videos of him yelling on the sidelines. And someone here in the comments said something about like, oh, well, players get passionate on the sidelines. You're right. That does happen. Not the same one every single week. Not the same one every single week yelling at the head coach. Okay, that's different. That's not the same thing. There's go ahead.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing is that I'll give you an example here. You put raw pasta in a hamburger. It's going to taste like shit. That's just the way it is. You put it in, I don't know, you put it in your drink. It's going to taste awful. Okay. But you put it in some hot water, you add some spices to it. It turns out something beautiful. Okay. I feel like that's what Eric Bieniemy was to the Kansas City Chiefs. He was an ingredient to the recipe that we do not have anymore. You take garlic out of pizza, it's not going to taste as good. I think that's the situation a lot of people are feeling about, or that's the way a lot of people are feeling
about. Then be mad that the ingredients suck and that they have sucked.
But they sucked before. They sucked before.
No, it didn't suck before. You had Travis Kelce in his prime. You had one of the best offensive lines in football.
2023 Chiefs offense is that much different than the one we have right now.
Eric Bieniemy wasn't here in 2023. Matt Nagy was.
Okay,
he won a Super Bowl.
2022.
Last time,
excuse me.
Yeah, they had a much younger version of Juju Smith-Schuster. They got good play out of Jerick McKinney and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. That was a very good offensive line. Orlando Brown played well that year. They had a great interior. And also, by the way, they completely changed their offensive identity when they switched to more of that traditional West Coast offense. And they caught the league by storm that year. And they were young on defense. That's the ingredients suck. To go back to your pasta analogy, if the pasta is not well cut and it's dry and the sauce has no flavor and the meatballs are dry and have been overcooked and burnt, it's not going to be good. So Eric Bieniemy sitting there yelling in the kitchen, why isn't the pasta as good? It's not going to work whenever the ingredients suck. That just adds more tension to a situation. Him, again, it is action. It is not motion. And people sitting here in the chat hypothesizing of like, oh, well, I'd rather him be yelling for perfection. Or was he just arguing with people? Or was he just a pain in the ass? We don't know. I'm not saying I know. But what I am saying is when things go well in this offense, it's Andy. When things go bad in this offense, it's Matt Nagy. If the Chiefs turn around this offense and have a big three of Tyquan Thornton, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy and finish, top 5 EPA per play, top 5 offensive DVOA, not a single person is going to give Matt Nagy credit, okay? I saw videos of Matt Nagy yelling on the sidelines on Sunday. No one gives a shit, okay? Everyone's just confirming their priors. Everyone is just agreeing, like, they're basically validating themselves. They've come up with this idea, and then, I hate to touch on this stuff because it's really not in the limelight anymore, but there is also some, like, socio status things going on here, right? Like some people, there was some race discussion around Eric Bieniemy, so I think some people want to lean into that too, whether they think that he sucks or whether they think he was wronged or whatever. But at this point, there's a large sample size here that says it's Andy Reid's offense. It's always been Andy Reid's offense. It will always be Andy Reid's offense. And there's also a large sample size. Eric Bieniemy is not very good at being an offensive coordinator or a head coach.
Well, and I think it's important too. I think that perspective truly relies on the idea or the logic behind, listen, the offense was good. Now it's not. We can draw a line right here. And this is the only thing that changed. Simply, it's a very simplistic form of thinking about the problem. So the offensive coordinator changed. Now the offense sucks. It has to be the offensive coordinator, which I agree with you. I do think that the offense was a little bit better in the years Eric Bieniemy was here, at least ingredients wise, so to speak. But I think there's also something to be said for we're trying to make it back. We're not trying to progress into what this offense can maximize itself and become. We want to go back and be like the 2019 offense. Right there is this sort of nostalgia surrounding the area. So I do think that is also, that does play a part in the Eric Bieniemy discussion and OC discussion. I'll be 100% with you though. I don't know what what Matt Nagy adds to this team. At least you could put a tangible sort of attribute to Eric Bieniemy and what he added. I don't know if you can do that with Matt Nagy here. You look around and I don't know what he does. What does he do? Is he an extension of the QB coach?
I mean, I'm sure like literally what he does, like if we're talking being actual about it, he helps install game plans. He helps look at packages, personnel packages, goes over the first 15, talks like there is a functional purpose. It's not like he's sitting in his office with a tennis ball, just throwing it against the wall or something. But I mean, I would also say you can say the same thing about Eric Bieniemy. Like literally the only difference in our minds on the outside between those two guys is, there's EB yelling at someone. And you know what? Like something that doesn't get talked about, Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy went at it. I remember in that Houston game, the game that the infamous Chiefsaholic Houston Texan game, they were going on the sideline. I don't want that. Okay. Keeping 15 here and happy is the most important thing in this franchise. This franchise was full of sadness and depression for like 50 years until 15 showed up. I don't need to, if Patrick Mahomes goes, I want Matt Nagy. I don't want I want Matt Nagy, not Eric Bieniemy. Okay, bye. See ya. Done. I don't care. No, I don't care that he yells at people. It doesn't matter because 15 matters. You dance with the devil who brought you here. If Tom Brady wanted a stupid ass trainer to be at the Patriots facility, you let it happen because guess what? The Patriots are a punchline now, and Tom Brady went and won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. All those things, it doesn't matter. And if Patrick Mahomes wants Matt Nagy, which I do believe is there because they're celebrating together on the side at the parades and drinking beers together. And Josina Anderson is putting out cryptic tweets that say the Patrick Mahomes camp is very happy to have Matt Nagy back. I'm telling you, there's something there. And I don't think you like DB. That's me speculating. I don't know that for a fact. But at the end of the day, if that's what it is, that's all that matters.
Yeah. I mean, truly, I guess to kind of recap your point there, I do think it's really important that Patrick Mahomes is healthy, but I think we shouldn't confuse happy with peaceful, which I feel like what this situation is. I think that winning makes Patrick Mahomes a lot happier than whether he has Eric Bieniemy or Matt Nagy. I think Patrick Mahomes loves when the offense is doing well. I think that, if it did better with Eric Bieniemy and not with Matt Nagy, I think there's something to be said for that too. Curing kind of ails all the wounds of a season and of the personalities. We're not having a whole lot of that right now. There's not a whole lot of medicine in the Chiefs building right now. And I think that we could see a change coming there as well in the near future.
And I think to be a little bit unbiased or impartial here, I think people just want new ideas. And Matt Nagy is a symptom of what happens a lot of times in teams that start winning a lot is that they start keeping the same people around all the time. Oh, look, here's another Patriots guy hiring another Patriots guy. And you've seen that over and over again. I'm sure a lot of Chiefs fans, they've clamored for people like Mike McDaniel or someone like that to come in. You would like to see new ideas in the building. And Matt Nagy maybe it's not Matt Nagy. It's just the symptom of bringing another Andy guy in here. And the offense just looks the same over and over again, which I would argue Eric Bieniemy was also an Andy Reid guy. It's not like Eric Bieniemy has some, unique play calling background. And I do think that they need that. And I will also point out that Mitch Schwartz, who is someone who was a part of this team with Eric Bieniemy, with Matt Nagy, with Patrick Mahomes, he has highlighted the fact that he thinks Mike Kafka is a much bigger loss than we know, which he might be back on the market soon. So I do understand that. And I do also agree a little bit that while keeping 15 happy is the number one priority, like he can't run roughshod over this, right? Like there has to be another voice in his head that says like, hey, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 32. Have you ever looked at T. Higgins tape before, buddy? Like, that sort of thing.
Taylor looks like a great prospect. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that. I do think that there is value in that too. But at the end of the day, like if that's something that is a problem, the friction between those two guys, then you want Andy to side with Patrick Mahomes in that instance. And okay. Well,
I think we'd go through our three biggest if we just hit them quick. Back to back.
The only other thing I was going to say is just the upward trajectory for the rookies, I think, is encouraging. Omar Norman-Lott led the team in defensive tackle snaps, not named Chris Jones. So he outsnapped Derek Nottie. He outsnapped Jerry Tillery. I think that there were some nice snaps of him shedding and like holding gap integrity. I do think that the run defense looked a little less encouraging here. They were playing in a lot of light shells. We talked about Noel Williams. Jeff Bassa had a great open field tackle on kick coverage. That was really nice to see. I'm still like very optimistic about this rookie class. I feel really good about it. We talked about them getting Brashard Smith. Kind of stinks that we didn't get any Jalen Royal snaps. I could see the writing on the wall from the Andy Reid presser where he was kind of talking about, he's missed a lot of time. That translation, don't expect much. But hey, at least he's out there, and this is pretty uncommon. Ashton Gelati, Omar Norman-Lott, they're playing. This is a rookie class that's instantly coming and contributing. Obviously, Josh Simmons is going to basically play like every offensive snap. You've already got Norman-Lott being the predominant one tech. Gelati's playing a lot. Part of that's the Mike Dana injury, but I mean, this is a real circumstance where this rookie class is going to come in and could be huge for this team, and that's what you love to see because there's a lot of growth there. There's a lot of potential there. These guys are just getting used to being NFL players. Year 2 bump for rookies is real.
Oh yeah. And it's really cool to see, you go into the off season and you have a few glaring holes and, you try to fill them through free agency. You try to fill them through the draft. It's really nice to see some of those, holes in the boat get plugged with guys that you just drafted. And it's like, hey, listen, I know Mike Dana's injured and we don't have an incredibly deep defensive line room. But having Ashton Gelati come in and play legit snaps and play fairly well, like that's really, really encouraging. And I think Veach doesn't get a lot of credit for that, especially this year when all the discourse is surrounding how could you look at this roster and think that it's capable, which was one of my main points here. I think that, I think the Chiefs have kind of lost faith in a few of their guys, Isaiah Pacheco being that guy. The main one there. We talked about it a little bit, having, the ability to go out and trade for a running back would be really, really nice. But just bringing it back to Brett Veach and getting these guys, ready and drafting guys who can step in and play is, not a talent that a lot of GMs have. You look at the Bengals and they drafted a tackle that isn't going to be ready for, a year or two. And they drafted a defensive end who was, really experimental, really young to the game, doesn't have a whole lot of polish to it. You can do that. You can afford to do that when you're a bottom 10, 15 team in the league. But when you're Kansas City Chiefs and you're, top 3, top 2, top 1 every single season, like you need guys that can come in and contribute. And Brett Veach, for all of the mistakes that he's made, he's drafted a lot of guys that can come in and play. And that is something that, not a lot of people can do at the GM spot.
Yeah. And, I definitely think that this roster is kind of interesting because the big three are always going to kind of decide how this goes. But I do think more and more it's just starting to look like a roster that is going to rely on, like, I want to be clear, this sounds kind of harsh, but Brett Veach hasn't really drafted but one superstar in his time, and that's Trent McDuffie.
Yeah,
I think Creed Humphrey is that level of player, but it's hard to be that level of player as a center. But he's, best player at his position. And it's hard. He's drafted lots of goods, lots of good players, but there's not many of those one out of one. And Rashee Rice, I think, is close to that. Receivers a little bit weird because, like the top 15 wide receivers, you could kind of argue, like, are they superstars, right? Like CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nacua. Like, there's so many names. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, that it's like, well, is he in that level? But because of that, I think the contributors, like, if everyone's not rowing in the same direction, it's really hard, right? You need George Karlaftis to have a good game, and Chris Jones to have a good game, and for, Mike Dana or Charles Omenihu or whatever, for that pass rush to really start feeling like it's coming together, versus you get a guy, and obviously they don't get these opportunities, but to get like a Mike Dana, or to get a, how do I say that?
Yeah, we can't
get a
trade for
guy,
Mike Dana, dude.
Yeah, to get a guy like
Mike Dana,
a Nick Bosa, or someone who's like, yeah, this guy can just wreck the game by himself. The other guys, like, they don't have, this guy can just wreck the game by himself, right? And McDuffie has been a nice stabilizing force to the secondary, because he can be a second team all-pro corner on the outside and a first team all-pro corner on the inside. Like that, what a luxury to have. And also what a, flexible piece too, to have that as far as disguising and alternating coverages. So I totally agree. And, I spent all week with people trying to tell me that Brett Veach wasn't a good general manager, which was highly frustrating to deal with. All I will say is this: I'm not sitting here telling you that I think he's the best, or maybe even the top 2 tiers. I think he's good. I think he's fine. Like you can certainly point out things that he's done incorrectly, things that should have went better. And yes, winning does cure all ills. The Frank Clark contract and trade was a disaster, but you're not going to hear people in Kansas City complain about it, because he leads he's like one of the leading all-time sackers in playoff history, right? So like it worked. So overall, I'm still very optimistic about this year. This is a turning point right here. They get this win, then it's the Ravens game. The Ravens, they check underneath their bed for the Chiefs at night. Okay. They get Xavier Worthy back. I think that the Ravens should probably be favored in this game. Yes, but it's totally possible the Chiefs can win this game, especially with how well they play the Ravens traditionally. Then you're 2-2. You're headed to Jacksonville, a Jacksonville team that does not look good. You got the Lions on the other side of it. Rashee Rice is already back in the building. He's not practicing, but he's back in the building. Sounds like Xavier Worthy is hopefully on track to play this week. They came out of this game without any new injuries. There's optimism here. And then you're tied for second in the AFC West now. The Raiders stink. Shocking. Every NFL podcaster with a mic just tells me about how incredible Geno Smith is all the time, and all his teams do is lose. And Bo Nix, turns out he actually is Bo Nix. He's not the next Patrick Mahomes. So the Chargers, them having a 3-game lead in the division with the half game over the Chiefs, that's going to be hard to overcome, but they're coming to Arrowhead in December. That's what you want to see. It's all right in front of the Chiefs here. So this is a big week here for them against the Ravens.
Yeah, well, and I think it's important to remember too, the offense that we saw. I know they went, 5 for 6 in the first 2 quarters for scoring, or being in position to score with that missed field goal. But I don't think we know for a fact all the pieces aren't there or weren't there, and might not be there for the New York Giants. But I think there are some pieces that are not yet on the roster that could make an appearance in the Ravens game as well. So it's important. Check Twitter every single day like we do. Be on there, and then look for that Tom Pelissero or Adam Schefter tweet that says Breece Hall has been traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you can enjoy it with us, because we've got a podcast every single day of the week. Come in, hang out, and talk shit on the Ravens and maybe even the Chargers. We'll see.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have a show every single day of the week here. You want to keep it locked on here at Arrowhead Addict. Become a member, join us in the Discord, hang out with us in the pre, post, and halftime shows, and we'll keep it locked on Chiefs here all the time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to producer Richard, who does an excellent job as always. Glad to have him back. And from here at Arrowhead Addict, go Chiefs.